Welcome back. My name is Dwight Gillespie, and this is the Change Your Life podcast. I want to thank you for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, of course, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, share this with your friends, especially if you hear something worthwhile, or if you just want to, say this guy's an asshole, It's okay either way. As long as it's getting shared, you're liking it, and you're subscribing. I'm cool with that. In today's episode, I want to talk about the book I have coming out. It's called Price Tags, and that's pretty much what this is going to be about. And I want to discuss why, how we came about the name and what it's about and what the alternate title was. I think it's a good concept, and the reason I talk about it is because I think it's something that is very near and dear to my heart. We talk about price tags, and I had this idea while I was writing this. Now, the book is a memoir, and the book is about my life. Basically, I grew up in a family, of my mom was whatever. My mom drank a lot. We'll put it that way. My father drank a lot. My father was also a compulsive gambler. I'm one of 7 kids. It was a tough place to be a kid, is what I always say. We grew up, I grew up in a town called Haledon, New Jersey, which is like right next to Patterson. And again, my father was a compulsive gambler. And as a result of that, when I was 18 years old, my father had apparently, we say allegedly, because there was never any court date, technically. He had borrowed money from his place of employment without asking permission first. Right, that sounds really good. He embezzled a lot of cash, and he bet it on a lot of really slow horses at Yonkers Raceway, and the soon-to-be glue, as I like to call it. And he also betted on a lot of small football teams that didn't pass or run very well. And he lost everything. There's one thing. My father taught me something about compulsive gambling, and I don't gamble myself as a result of watching what my father went through. I don't gamble because this is what happens when you gamble, and you can tell if somebody's got a problem because when they're losing, they go, "Oh, dude, you can't stop now. You're bound to win. The odds are with you, man. You got to keep going." And if they're on a winning streak, they can't quit then, even though they're up by a lot, because, dude, you'd be crazy to quit now. Look, man, you're hot. And I like to tell the story of when I realized my father had a gambling problem. I was maybe 13 years old, and we were at Yonkers. My father hit the trifecta, and it was $6,600, and he had it straight in box, and instead of going home, we stayed. We were hot. And on the way home, we usually stopped at the TikTok Diner in Clifton, New Jersey. And we're going past, they had a 99-cent special. You had eggs any way you want them, sausage or bacon, home fries, coffee, the whole 9 yards, a little thing of orange, little shot glass, orange juice. And we were going by there, and I knew my father won $6,600. As we're driving down Route 3, I'm like, "Oh, are we going to stop?" And my father looked at me and goes, "Why? You got money I don't know about? You holding out on me?" And I'm like, "Nah, I don't have anything." He says, "Well, then we ain't eating, And I knew then that my father had a problem, Anyway, getting back to price tags, and how I got off on that, right? So I grew up in Haledon in New Jersey and everything, and my mom drank, my father drank. My father had committed suicide when I was 18 as a result of his gambling and everything, and facing an indictment for the money that he borrowed from the company he worked for. And I went through a lot of other trials and tribulations, and eventually, I met a nice girl. I had developed a drug and alcohol problem at a very young age. And I had stopped in 1987. I stopped using drugs and alcohol. Actually, alcohol is a drug. But anyway, that's another story. I met a nice girl that I worked with. We got together. We got married. We had a beautiful child. And it was 3 weeks before his 7th birthday when we were on our way to a sonogram. My wife was pregnant with my daughter. We were on our way, and we got into a horrible accident. It was horrific. We fell down a 32-foot embankment, landed right side up, and my son, unfortunately, had suffered horrible injuries, internal bleeding, and he passed away that night. And then we lost my daughter 6 weeks later. And I mentioned this in a lot of the podcasts, but this is the reason, the whole idea of the book is an idea that I have in my head really about life, and that's price tags. There's a price that we pay, I think, for everything that we do. And I remember it was the third anniversary of my son's death, and I was still in the throes of it. Like it took a long time. It really did. It took a long time to come to grips with this and to really be able to deal with it on any, on any level whatsoever. And what happened was I was having dinner with a very good friend, and he looked and he didn't get it. He says, "It's still that bad, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's just horrible. It was just horrible, And I'm watching at home. My we were still married at the time, and my wife, just going through this horrific pain every day. And he asked me a question. He said, "Given the pain that you've been through, given what this has done to you, if you had to do it all over again, would you? Was it worth the price?" And I didn't even hesitate. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Like the love that I had for that child and what he gave me, and it was all worth it. It was definitely worth it. And I think one of my bigger regrets in life is that I didn't have more children. To be honest with you, it was a wonderful experience. I loved being a dad. I loved being Luke's dad. I loved having him. I was looking forward to having his sister as well. And so that's what began to spur this on. And then, I started thinking about the addiction. I started thinking about all the things I was going through. Now, I've recently lost a lot of weight. I was at one time 280 pounds. I'm 5'6.5", and 280 pounds. It's pretty portly. I'm down to 225 now, and still working on it. It's still a work in progress, and it's very difficult. And this is another thing that leads me into this idea of price tags. As I say this, and I don't want to make anybody feel bad, and I don't want people to say, "Oh, fat shaming" or anything. This is for me. I got to tell you, man, at that weight, I didn't feel healthy. I didn't feel good about myself. I felt unattractive. I looked at myself and I felt unattractive when I looked at myself. I said, that's not a look that's good for me. And I felt unhealthy. I couldn't breathe well. And it may be okay at a young age, but I'm telling you, as you get older, I've had knee replacement surgery on my right knee. I was looking at having it on my left. My hip was starting to go. I had all of these problems. I was pre-diabetic. I didn't breathe. I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs without getting winded. Like all of these things were happening to me as a result of the weight. And, this furthered this idea, this notion of price tags, because I said, well, this is the price of eating when I want, what I want, however much I want, and not exercising at all. Like this is the price. This is what I'm going to pay. I'm going to feel unattractive. I'm going to be winded. I'm going to do all these things. Now, I love food. Don't get me wrong. Pasta, bread, like this is my life, man. I love me some food. And any food, really. There's only two things I really don't eat, and it's mushroom and eggplant are the only two things and it's just a texture thing, really, not a taste. Now, what does it take to get healthier? I'm 59 years old. I just turned 59 at the beginning of March 1st. And what does it take to get healthy? Well, there's a price for that as well. You pay a price. So now I get up early. I exercise on a daily basis. I can't eat. There are certain things I can't eat. I read a great book, and I plug it because it really did a world of good for me. It's called Bright Line Eating, and in it the author had pointed out that processed sugar and processed flour are the same things for some people as heroin and cocaine, and I bought right into that. It made sense to me. And I started following this particular program, and the weight just started coming off. And I'm down, like 57 pounds from my top weight to where I am now, just by following this and incorporating an exercise program into my life. And that's what that takes. I get up earlier now to do the exercise. I have to prepare all my food. I don't eat out. And these are the prices I'm willing to pay in order to I'm coming off of my blood pressure medication. I'm no longer pre-diabetic. I don't need knee surgery on my left knee. My hip is better. I'm sleeping better. I was getting 6 hours of sleep a night, and I thought that's all I needed. But what was happening was, as I lost weight, I was sleeping longer, and I didn't understand why. And then one day it dawned on me, like I'm not waking up in pain. because I'm losing this weight and my hip didn't hurt when I got up and all these other things. So, but that's a price, and I like that idea of in life, we pay a price for anything we do or don't do. And that's the whole idea behind this title. The other title we were thinking about was The Salt of the Earth, and that came from my father's suicide note. He called us the salt of the earth. And, and I'm not a biblical guy. I studied it a little bit, but I'm not a religious man. I don't consider myself a religious person at all, although I have a deep faith in God, which is another podcast we've done. But the salt of the earth, that idea, that's something you say when somebody is like that they are the salt of the earth, means that they are the essence. They're beautiful and they provide something very good. But there's a lot more to it than that. There was another part of that. But if it loses its saltiness, what is it good for? Is the second part of that, and it comes from Christ's Sermon on the Mount, whatever. And number one, I thought it was too biblical, and number two, I didn't think it really fit. I think that the price tag is something that we can all relate to and understand. What price are you willing to pay? People are in relationships that they hate. They say, I love him, but I love her. You're paying a price. You're paying a price. And no matter what we do, we pay a price. No matter what decision we make, we pay a price. And if you think that you don't have to pay the price, that's when you start living that mediocre life, is when you try to dodge the price of life. You want to live an exciting life, you have to do exciting things. You have to put yourself out there. You have to risk failure. You have to risk that you might not be successful. And in today's culture, that's a big thing. I remember going to my nephew when he was a little kid, going to the baseball game. I asked my sister, what's his score? And these kids are 12 years old. She said, we don't keep score. It makes the kids feel bad if they lose. Well, how do you get better? Well, what's the point of doing better if there's nothing to be gained, And that may seem simplistic, but then you run into people who don't know how to fail, who don't know that failure is a part of life, and that paying the price of getting better, of becoming better and working harder, you have to be willing to pay a price in life if you want to be successful at anything. But if you want to lead that mediocre life, if you want to just glide through and have no ups or downs, there's a great movie called Parenthood. And in it, the grandmother explains that the difference between the roller coaster and the merry-go-round. She says, some people like the merry-go-round. It goes around and around and around, and it's safe. Me, I like the roller coaster. I like not knowing, having those wicked turns and those ups and downs. And that's life to me. That's a life well lived. And if you want a life well lived, you better be willing to pay some prices and to really decide what prices you want to pay and how much you're willing to pay for your happiness and what you're willing to put on the line. And that's what this is all about. Again, my name is Dwight Gillespie. This is the Change Your Life podcast. Please continue to tune in. Again, like, share, and hit that subscribe button, please. We can use everything we got. And we're going to be setting up a Patreon account as well. So if you want to support it, if you like the videos and you want to help us to continue to produce them, we'll have that available very soon as well. I thank you very much. The name of the book is Price Tags. It can be ordered at Amazon.com. It can be ordered anywhere books are sold, Barnes & Noble, wherever. All right. I thank you very much. Be well.